In a forgotten corner of the ancient forest, where sunlight filtered through leaves like golden whispers, lived an eagle named Arik. Unlike his majestic kin who ruled the skies, Arik had never learned to fly. His wings, powerful yet unused, remained tucked against his body as he hopped from branch to branch along the forest floor. Years ago, as a hatchling, Arik had fallen from his nest high in the tallest pine. A kindly fox found him, nursed him back to health, and raised him among the creatures of the undergrowth. Though the fox had been loving, he knew nothing of teaching eagles to soar. So Arik grew, his magnificent wingspan developing to its full glory. Yet his powerful wings remained untested against the currents of the open air. He'd watch, neck craned skyward, as his eagle cousins painted graceful arcs across the azure canvas above. Something deep in his chest would stir, a calling, ancient and undeniable, but fear would quickly extinguish it. "You're too old now," the rabbits would say. "Eagles learn to fly when they're young. Your wings have grown too stiff," chittered the squirrels. "You've missed your chance." And Arik believed them. The years passed, and he accepted his fate as the eagle who would never know the sky. One autumn evening, as crimson and gold leaves danced their way to the earth, Arik perched on his favorite fallen log. The setting sun painted the forest in amber hues, and a cool breeze carried the scent of pine and distant rain. If you've ever felt that you've missed your moment, write the word "believe" in the comments to remind yourself that your time is still coming. It was then that a shadow fell across him, larger than any forest creature should cast. Arik looked up to see the most ancient eagle he had ever beheld. Her feathers were silver-tipped, her eyes deep pools of wisdom, and scars marked her magnificent form like badges of honor. "Why do you walk when you were born to fly?" she asked, her voice like distant thunder. Arik lowered his gaze. "I never learned, and now it's too late. My time has passed." The old eagle, who called herself Sora, tilted her head. "Who told you such a lie?" "Everyone," Arik replied. "And besides, have you ever seen an adult eagle take his first flight?" Sora's eyes gleamed. "I am looking at one now." For 7 days, Sora returned to Arik's fallen log. She spoke not of techniques or wing positions, but of something deeper, the courage that lives in the heart of every eagle. Each morning, she instructed, climb higher than you did the day before. Not to fly, just to feel the wind speak to your feathers. So Arik began. The first day, he climbed only to the lowest branch of a young oak. His heart pounded as the breeze rustled through his unused flight feathers. It felt like a strange language, one he somehow recognized but couldn't yet understand. "Now, breathe," Sora said. "When doubt comes, and it will come, breathe into the center of your chest, where courage lives. 3 breaths, no more, no less." Arik practiced this ritual. When the voices of the forest creatures echoed in his mind, too old, too late, impossible, he would draw 3 deep breaths into the core of his being. Sometimes, the fear would subside just enough for him to climb 1 branch higher. By the 4th day, Arik had reached the middle branches of the tallest trees. The forest looked different from this height, smaller, yet somehow vaster. The wind was stronger here, pulling at his feathers with an insistent tug that almost felt like an invitation. "Your wings remember what your mind has forgotten," Sora told him. "Trust them more than your thoughts." On the 5th day, rain came. Heavy drops hammered the canopy, and lightning fractured the darkened sky. Arik huddled against a tree trunk, certain they would postpone the day's climb. "Perfect conditions," Sora announced instead. "For what?" Arik asked, voice barely audible above the storm. "For remembering who you are. She led him higher than he'd ever gone, to the uppermost branches that swayed precariously in the wind. Rain pelted his feathers, and lightning illuminated the world in brilliant flashes. Far below, the forest floor seemed to belong to another world entirely. "Now," Sora said, "spread your wings." Trembling, Arik extended his magnificent wings for the first time to their full span. The wind caught them immediately, nearly lifting him from his perch. Terror seized him, and he clutched the branch tighter. "I can't," he cried. "You are right," Sora replied calmly. "You can't fly with your talons gripping the branch. If I let go, I'll fall." "Yes," she said. "That is how flying begins." The sixth day dawned clear and bright. Arik's muscles ached from the previous day's exertions, but something else had awakened within him, a hunger that food could not satisfy. He found himself staring at the empty spaces between branches, wondering how it would feel to bridge them, not with careful hops, but with outstretched wings. Sora brought him to a cliff edge that Arik had never known existed in his forest home. Below stretched a valley so deep that its bottom disappeared in mist. The updraft from the valley hit his face like a physical force. "Today, no climbing," Sora said. "Today, we practice the 3 moments." "What are those?" Arik asked, unable to tear his gaze from the dizzying drop. "The moment of decision, the moment of action, the moment of surrender." She fixed him with her penetrating gaze. These 3 moments exist in the space of a single heartbeat, yet they separate those who transform from those who merely exist. All day, they practiced standing at the edge, not to jump, but to feel what it meant to be fully present in that first moment. Decision. "Feel the tipping point," Sora instructed. "Not with your thoughts, but with your body. There is an instant when staying becomes harder than leaping." By sunset, Arik could stand at the cliff's edge, without his heart trying to burst from his chest. He could feel the wind's messages more clearly now, how it pushed and pulled, how it created invisible roads through the emptiness. As darkness fell on the 6th night, Sora told him, "Tomorrow will be your last lesson." Arik hardly slept. The thought of flying, truly flying, after all these years seemed simultaneously impossible and inevitable. By dawn, he had made his way back to the cliff without waiting for Sora. The sky was painted in magnificent strokes of pink and gold. The valley below was filled with morning mist that swirled like a slow-motion river. Arik stood at the edge, feeling the familiar fear rise up, but now he recognized it as the companion of something else, longing. Sora arrived silently, landing beside him. "You came early," she observed. "I don't want to waste any more time," Arik replied. Sora nodded. "Then you've already learned the most important lesson." She looked out over the valley. "Do you know why most eagles never fly, even when they have wings?" Arik considered this strange question. "All eagles fly. No. Some eagles, with perfect wings, live and die without ever touching the sky because they wait for the certainty that they will not fall." Her eyes met his. That certainty never comes. Then how does anyone ever fly? They accept that falling is possible, likely even. But they discover something more important than the fear of falling. What's that? The unbearable agony of never knowing what their wings can do. As the sun climbed higher, Sora taught Arik the final lesson: how to fail properly. If you try to fly today and fall instead, it will not be a failure. It will be the first step in learning. The only true failure would be returning to your fallen log, convinced that your moment has passed. She showed him how to tumble safely, how to spread his wings to slow a fall, how to use air currents to regain control. For hours they practiced not flying, but falling with intention. When the sun reached its zenith, Sora grew quiet. "It's time," she said simply. Arik stood at the cliff edge, his entire body trembling. All the doubts returned in a crushing wave. He was too old. His wings were untrained. He had missed his time. 3 breaths, Sora reminded him. Arik closed his eyes and inhaled deeply into the center of his chest, where courage lived. Once, twice, 3 times. With each breath, he felt something shift. Not the fear dissolving, but his relationship to it changing. The fear remained, but now it stood beside him rather than blocking his way. "I might fall," he said. "Yes," Sora agreed. "You might. And I might fly." "Yes," she said. "You might." Arik opened his eyes and gazed at the vast emptiness before him. For the first time, he saw it not as an absence, but as a canvas awaiting his signature. The moment of decision arrived. Arik felt it in his bones. That instant when staying became harder than leaping. He jumped. For one terrifying second, he was neither flying nor falling, but simply existing in the void. His wings, uncertain what to do after years of stillness, remained partly folded. He began to drop. The ground rushed up to meet him. Panic seized his chest. But somewhere in that panic, a memory older than his mind awakened in his muscles. His wings snapped open, not gracefully, but desperately. The air caught him, hard and sudden. Pain shot through muscles unused to such strain. He flailed, dropped again, then caught another current. Each movement was awkward, each recovery barely achieved. But he was not falling, not anymore. He was flying, badly, painfully, magnificently. A sound escaped his throat, part cry of exertion, part call of triumph, echoing across the valley. Below him, creatures looked up at the strange sight of an adult eagle taking his first flight. Sora swooped beneath him. "Breathe!" she called. "Let your wings remember." For an hour that felt like both an eternity and an instant, Arik struggled through the air. With each passing minute, his movements became less chaotic. His wings began to find their rhythm. His body remembered its purpose. The pain remained, but now it sang of growth rather than warning of failure. When at last he landed, crashing more than alighting, on a high outcropping of rock, his entire body shook with exhaustion, but his eyes burned with a light that had never been there before. Sora landed gracefully beside him. "So," she said, "was it too late?" Arik looked at her, then back at the sky that was now his home, as much as the forest floor had ever been. "It would only have been too late if I had never tried." In the days that followed, Arik continued to practice. His flights grew longer, his landings smoother. The muscles that had never been used grew stronger. The creatures of the forest who had told him it was too late now watched in wonder as he traced patterns across the sky. Some still whispered that he didn't fly as well as eagles who had learned as fledglings. Perhaps they were right, but Arik no longer measured himself against others. His triumph was not in being the best, but in becoming who he was meant to be, regardless of when that journey began. One morning, as dawn painted the eastern sky, Arik noticed a young hawk hopping along the forest floor. Its wing had healed poorly after an injury, and the other forest creatures told it that it would never fly again. Arik landed beside the surprised hawk. "Who told you such a lie?" he asked. And so, the eagle who had learned to fly late became a teacher to others who believed their time had passed. He taught them the 3 moments and how to breathe into courage. He showed them that falling was not failure, but practice. Above all, he helped them discover that missed moments can become new beginnings. For it is not the hours on the clock or the days on the calendar that determine when our time has passed. It is the courage in our hearts that decides whether our moment is still to come. Remember this, dear friend. There is no too late for those who still have the courage to try. Your wings, whatever they may be, are waiting for you to remember their purpose. The sky has been patient. It will wait for you to remember that you were born to touch it. If this story resonated with your soul, subscribe to Storybox Sage and share it with someone who needs to be reminded that their moment hasn't passed. It's simply waiting for their courage to arrive.